Well, alright. Okay. Hey guys, what's up? It's Naomi Yala, and thank you for tuning in on another video. I actually at first was feeling some type of way. I didn't know if I should talk about it or not, but it has been a few years. It has been quite a few years. It happened almost 5 years ago. I was 16 years old, and I did briefly mention a piece of this story on the worst dates I've ever been on, so you can go ahead and check that out. I will leave the link down below. I want to start from the beginning. So it happened when I was 16 years old. I was working at Chuck E. Cheese, and I will say everything that happened except the name, you know. So I started working there when I was 16, and everyone there was pretty much older than me, either by like a year or like 5 years. Like everyone was pretty much older than me, and I felt so cool being a 16-year-old and hanging out with basically like adults. So we actually had valet. There are these two guys who worked at that valet, and I became friends with both of them. I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, they're still friends. But I became friends with both of them, no bad intentions, literally just friends. I don't know why I was talking to them. I was just like a naive 16-year-old, but they were adults. They were in their 20s, and they kind of hit on me in a way that I kind of knew but kind of didn't know. And I remember my coworkers like kind of joking about it, like, hey, are you like into one of them? And I was like, hell no, like, no, they're not my type. But one of them did ask me to hang out with them, and I would always say no until eventually he kept asking me, and I was like, sure, why not? And we ended up going to a view, and the night was honestly fun. Like, we were just talking about life, you know. I did leave my house without permission. Snuck out, you know, I was a cool kid. I'm just kidding. Do not sneak out. That was a very, very, very big mistake. But yeah, so we went to the view. We were talking, and he started to tell me how he wanted to go with his friends. He wanted both of us to go with his friends to smoke, and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm smoking. He was like, well, I'm gonna need you to lie and say you're like 18, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna think it's weird if I have a minor with me. And I was like, yeah, of course they're gonna think that's weird. Like, that's when I was like, why did I come with you? Like, this is weird. And I was like, hey, I think it's just best if I go back home. And he was like, sure thing. So as he's driving me back home, we take a route that leads us to his house, and he's like, hey, like, he starts to pull over in this residence area, and I'm like, what is going on? And he starts to show me this house, and he's like, hey, that's where I live, you know, and that window right there is where all the girls like sneak in. And he's like, do you want to like sneak in through that window? And I was like, no, thank you. Can I go home? And after that whole little awkward situation, he did take me home. And this is where things started to get a little weird. So when he was taking me home, he started holding my hand. And at first I was like kind of like slipping my hand away like awkwardly, but he would continuously try to like grab my hand. And I was like, okay, this is a little weird. I'm just gonna let him hold my hand. Like, it's okay. We're almost home. I'm almost home. Like, I'm never gonna talk to him again. And I'm never gonna see him again. And as he pulls over in front of where I lived, he tells me, I'm gonna see you again, right? Like, you have to promise that you're gonna see me again. And I was like, yeah, of course I am. And I said goodbye, and he's like, can I have a kiss? And I was like, next time? I was like scared. You're not gonna be able to understand what it felt like, but he just had this like weird look in his eye, like, if that makes any sense. It just didn't feel right to be there. I just felt like I needed to leave. And so I say goodbye, that was it for that night. You know, he left me alone. And then about like the next day, he just started like texting me like, hey, when are we gonna hang out again? And he was always just randomly telling me like, hey, when are we gonna hang out again? And I promise you, I did not respond because I guess I didn't have the heart to tell him like, I don't want to see you again. I just thought it'd be best that it like not to message him and hopefully he would get the memo, you know? But it didn't stop. So at the time, I was still at Kid Check, which is where you just stand at the front, stamp kids and families, and you make sure that the families live together. I mean, you didn't need to know that, but he would always come in, you know, like, because valet people could come in to get water, use the restroom, get food, and he would come in constantly whenever I was working in there and like come talk to me. He would like stand right next to me and start like whispering like disgusting things, and I was getting extremely uncomfortable, and I started to tell him like, hey dude, can you like not? And he's like, why aren't you returning my messages? Why aren't you talking to me? Like, why are you suddenly acting so shady? And I was like, whoa, I barely even know you. Like, are you good? And it didn't stop. It like continued on for like, I would say like 4 months. So it'd always be a constantly. Every time he saw me, every time we were working around the same times, he would come in, and like keep whispering things, keep coming to me. And it was getting so annoying. And I was like just wanting to like move to another position where I wouldn't have to be just standing at the door, you know? And eventually, like 4 months later, I got trained to be a party host after begging the managers for like a really long time. The main reason why I was so happy was because I didn't have to see him anymore, I thought. But that didn't stop him. When I would be hosting birthday parties, he would come into the birthday room. I know all Chuck E. Cheese's are different, but ours specifically had its own like section. He would go in there and he would go all the way to where I was, and he would continue asking me, why aren't you talking to me? Why are you ignoring me? Why aren't you answering my messages? And at this point, I had already blocked him because I didn't want the calls to keep coming through, you know? It was just a really, really bad time for me because I just didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anyone I worked with. I didn't tell my boss. I thought, hey, you're gonna get in trouble too because you did hang out with him once. And although I didn't do anything with him, that was just my mentality, my 16-year-old mentality. I just thought I was going to be in so much trouble. I thought I was going to lose my job, so I kept quiet. At this point, I'm already like doing birthday parties most of the time, and he continues to come in. And I remember this one time, he would not leave my side. Like, no matter where I went, like, I don't know if he was on a break or something because he was with me a long time. He would just follow me wherever I would go in the showroom, and it came to a point where one of my managers that day, Nicole, was there, and I just was like, hey Nicole, like I need you. Like I was like, I'll make it up when she comes. I just needed her to come so that he would leave me alone. And the second that he heard me calling my manager, he walked away. I was like, thank God, like finally he leaves. I remember her coming in and I just said, like, I asked her like the dumbest question because I was, you know, trying to have a reason why she had came to me, why I was like being so desperate about her coming to me without telling her what the real reason was. Time went on and it did start to get worse. I remember walking home one night. I lived about 15 minutes walking. Like it was like under 5 in a car, but it was like 15 minutes walking. And my parents were divorced at the time, so my mom was always working. So I did have to walk home a lot. And I remember walking home one night and I started to see this car like pull up near me, and I didn't think anything in Northridge. Like it is car after car after car, like it is so packed. So to see a car park is not a big deal, you know? It was probably like around 10, 11 at night, and I see this car pull up and I think nothing of it. I keep walking and someone rolls down the window and starts saying like, Naomi, like, hello, why are you ignoring me? Like, this isn't fair. Can you just talk to me? And I was like, oh my God, like, what is he doing here? And I was like, please, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. Like, please just leave me alone. I think I just kept walking. I don't think I was scared of him. I think I was just annoyed at that point. Again, didn't do anything about it. And I just like let it happen. And it started to happen a little more often. It started to be a couple more nights, and it started to really, really bother me to the point where I was thinking of quitting my job. I started crying a lot when it was time for me to go to work because I dreaded being there. I dreaded having to see him or him follow me after I got out of work. I didn't walk home too often, but surely enough, whenever I did walk home, there were several times where he'd be following me. Time just continues, and it continued to bother me while I was at work. And then over the course of a few months, I start to notice it's less and less until suddenly I just forget about him and it stops. Like, I remember, like, I don't know, maybe 3 months had passed, 2 or 3 months had passed where I didn't see him at all. And I was like, this is a little weird. So I asked the new kid check person, which is one of my friends. Her name is Julia. And I go up to her and I'm like, hey dude, like, do you remember that one guy who used to valet, like the annoying one? And I started to describe his face. And she's like, oh yeah, I got him fired. My mom did. And I was like, what? And she's like, he was hitting on me and telling me all these disgusting things, and I am a minor, so easily, you know, call corporate, get him fired. And I was like, I was quiet. I was like, oh my God, thank you. I did see the stalker one more time about, I would say 2 years later, and it was at Urban Cafe. He came in for lunch, and I was like, as I handed him the food, I was like, oh, hi. And he was like, oh my God, like I didn't recognize you. And secretly in my head, I was like, of course you say you don't recognize me. It was a really funny day because I didn't notice that I dropped a Day-Dot sticker on his salad. And, you know, karma's a bitch, so. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. And if you guys want to hear another one, I have a crazy story from college where this guy threatened to beat me up. If you guys want to hear about that, you guys can leave a comment down below. Maybe I put myself in these situations, I don't know. You guys can be the judge of that. If you guys enjoyed that video, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed and you're watching this video, you know, why not subscribe? I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. I mean, I won't see you, more of you seeing me, but you get the point. Bye, guys!